What's up guys, we're hearing that in one state stimulus checks are hitting mailboxes and bank accounts. Today I'm going to let you know where this is happening so you can know if you're going to be getting a check here and fourth federal level stimulus checks to everybody in the nation. We are hearing that if this is going to be happening, it's likely going to be happening in the next recession, which is right now. However, we're also hearing that legislation, if anything is going to be passing, is probably going to have to happen through executive actions by the president because legislation is not happening. Now, speaking of the president, we also have heard that he's in quarantine right now because he has tested positive for the pandemic. Now take a look at the headlines, you guys. Just coming out yesterday, run to the bank. One state is going to be heading out stimulus checks tomorrow, which is now from the time of red writing. Today, those checks are going to be going out. Now, also on the federal level, as I mentioned, take a look at this. All those stimulus checks are likely in the next recession, which we're hearing is happening right now. That is unless you ask the White House, who has kind of changed the definition of recession. But most says it's right now. Experts are saying that would be great, except for right now it's a terrible time due to the inflation, which is at 41-year high at 9%, over 9% in the inflation rate right now. But they're saying people are hurting that some stimulus checks, they could really help. But as far as passing it through the traditional means of legislation, 60 votes in the Senate doesn't look like it's going to happen. Take a look, you guys. Articles coming out like this just yesterday. GOP Representative Jim Jordan says that it is wrong for Senate Republicans to work with Democrats on bills endorsed by Biden, saying we do not support the Biden administration on anything of their legislation. We're not going to be on board now. In addition to that, we have finally heard it just shared with you in my last video that Senator AUG mentioned, said he is on board through the process of reconciliation to pass through the Inflation Reduction Act. But anything that could spark more inflation, any more spending, he is not on board, which means provisions like stimulus checks, social security increases, child tax credits, anything having to do with more spending. Well, it looks like the only way now is going to be through President Joe Biden passing executive actions to get that done. And we're hearing that this is probably going to happen after they pass through this reconciliation bill. Now we'll see that provisions make it if there are executive actions, if Congress keeps their word, as it's been over a year now since they have promised a lot of these provisions and we still are yet to see them. So with that being said though, let's go ahead and dive into the latest on checks. A positive COVID test has President Biden back in isolation at the White House and said he is still working through and he said in a tweet he has no symptoms. The White House released this clip of the residents video calling veterans' families. He had originally planned to speak with them in person over the weekend about the burn peace legislation. NBC News White House correspondent Monica Iber Johnson. Now from Washington, Monica, the White House has been saying that around 5 to 8% of people who take Paxil that do test positive again at the end of the treatment. The president's personal physician said it was possible, and that's why they decided to continue to test him even though he has tested negative for 4 days last week. They knew the possibility of this so-called rebound case was something that they wanted to be aware of to protect those the president might be around because he did test positive again on Saturday on a rapid test, which means he's going to isolate from everybody for another 5 days at least, or until he tests negative. According to the White House, his doctor says he continues to feel well, that he doesn't have any re-emergence of symptoms. But of course, when you do test positive, and this is something that health experts said needs a little more information, you could potentially transmit the virus. So they did do some contact tracing, and there were at least 6 close contacts who were identified from the president when he was really after his first case during events. Again, he went and did that victory lap in the Rose Garden. Then he had 2 events indoors. They identified 6 of those close contacts, but so far none of them have tested positive. Let me get you caught up on the latest. Link in the description below to this article that came out yesterday that says that one state is going to be handing out checks today. New Mexico residents. They will receive a stimulus check from August 1st. State officials last week confirmed that New Mexico taxpayers will begin receiving tax rebates stimulus checks from August 1st. Stimulus checks, which are distributed as traditional checks and direct bank transfers. They are part of the statewide tax rebate scheme designed to provide relief from skyrocketing inflation, and 1.1 million New Mexicans are going to be eligible to receive as much as $1,500 stimulus checks, tax rebates, and direct aid under the scheme, which Democratic Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham pitched as a way of helping residents cope with the rising cost of food and household items. And you guys, this is happening across the nation. As I mentioned, New York, California, Florida, all across the nation, checks are going out on state, city, and county levels. This is due to the fact that the American Rescue Plan Act set aside money for them to use for their state residents, however they see fit. And also, there's just tons of budget surplus left over now, and they're actually sending in many cases in the form of stimulus checks to help our residents. So I'm going to make sure to keep you guys up to date on that. Now a little bit more on New Mexico. Take a look at this. Under the scheme, residents will be entitled to a refund income tax rebate of $500 if they are married and file joint tax returns and earn under $150,000. Now, heads of households that are with surviving spouses earning the exact amount will also be eligible for $500 checks, and single tax return filers and married individuals who file separately and earn under $75,000 will qualify for a tax rebate of $250. So those are the income eligibility requirements for the checks that are going to be going out in New Mexico. Now also, as I mentioned, 4th federal level checks to everybody in the nation. We have heard this is likely going to be coming back right before these midterm elections. Now we will see, we had originally had that promise of $2,000 checks. Right now we're hearing proposals are on the table for gas checks, inflation checks, recession checks, which is happening right now, and a lot of people are saying, hey, we still need this. The government has let us down, all these local government agencies. I'm doing all this research, and it is very sad to see how many of these programs are available yet. Nobody knows. I literally spent hours and hours researching just one program in many cases to get you the information and assemble it all into one place. I can imagine somebody that's hurting, that's already stressed out, trying to hunt all this stuff down. You guys on state, city, and county levels. I'm going to be assembling all this into one place for you, so that way you can have it ready. Now also on the federal level, as I mentioned, we're going to be seeing if they're going to pass this, if there's going to be executive actions, and if there is, I'll be sure to let you know here on the channel, keep you up to date every step of the way. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one.